Hey everybody, this is Perch, and this is an interesting topic, and we'll see if I can nail it. I think this is very interesting, but it may come off as boring. We'll see. I know I already walked into the joke that's invariably going to be made by some people in the comments. So this is a post that was made, and this has nothing to do with Twitter. This is not a video about Twitter or anything like that. It's about the kind of strange desire to not be satisfied with the way things are, and kind of simultaneously want to change them and also be popular. So let me kind of explain. So this tweet that was written by just some kind of random person, I think, who's cites themselves as being a DM for tabletop games, for TSR Dungeons and Dragons type games, says, "I sometimes wish that there was a game like D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, that was non-violent, about something other than killing things and looting. I'm sure there's indie stuff like that, but I mean major and popular. I can't see how it would work, though. I don't know why killing is the only way." There's a lot of things from this right out the gate, and it is worth noting kind of right out the bat that you can certainly play Dungeons and Dragons without killing and looting things. It's the kind of the magic of that game is that as the dungeon master, as a person preparing the campaigns, you can kind of do whatever you want. Your imagination is what is the structure behind this whole game. If you have an amazing story in mind that does not have looting or killing as part of it, you can run that game. You can do that. That's kind of the whole nature behind the game. Yes, it is absolutely true that a lot of the rule books and the stats and the other things for Dungeons and Dragons prioritizes hacking things up with swords and stealing gold and all the rest. That is kind of a lot of material is built around that, but you can make any game you want. And once upon a time, back when the game first began, there were a lot of different types of games. So many, in fact, that the different colleges, different groups that would do Dungeons and Dragons would have, not, and themes is a wrong word, but there would be campaign descriptions and types, and you could kind of go and do what you want. And I'm sure given the game is more popular now, those things still exist, and you can easily take care of this. It's not even a problem, barely an inconvenience to find the game you want. So that's number one. If you're a dungeon master, if you're somebody who runs campaigns and you're saying, why can't there be campaigns without killing? You probably need to kind of look in the mirror a little bit and go, yeah, why aren't there? You are the one making the campaigns. Why aren't you doing that? It's a fine question. But the other part of this, and I think it's the reason why I think this is interesting for comics, is it's this comment. I sometimes wish there was a game like D&D that was non-violent about something other than killing and looting. I'm sure there's indie stuff like that, but I mean major and popular. So this is something that definitely feels like it's changed from the 80s and the 90s to today. There have always been indie comics. There's always been different genres, different things. But in the 80s, you wouldn't have had a, punk rock indie slice of life comic. There were some. You wouldn't have had the people creating that talking about, I wish we could take over Spider-Man and turn Spider-Man into an indie punk rock slice of life comic. You wouldn't have seen that. Art styles that were going on back then for the indie world, and again, plenty of underground type art styles for comics. The artists were not kind of clamoring to, I wish we could take over X-Men and make it look like this. I wish that we could draw Batman in this style. People were more happy and satisfied to work in the indie comics. In fact, a lot of people making indie comics during that time period specifically didn't want to work for the big two. That was horrifying to them to kind of even contemplate going into this corporate system and having to do work for the faceless corporation that was Marvel. Today, in 2021, the big two have become arguably even more faceless. When you're owned by Disney and AT&T, soon to be Discovery, and it's even more corporate. I mean, I can just imagine. I'm trying to picture the conversations I used to have with people who are really into kind of indie comics in the late 80s and 90s. And they would say, Marvel is for, children and dummies. And they would, that was pre-Disney. I mean, I can only imagine these conversations if Mickey Mouse owned the company back then. It would have been like all the people who talked about how Vertigo was where the grown-up stories were for the adults and the people who were cool. I can only imagine how much they would just absolutely mock the Marvel fans if Marvel had been owned by Disney at that time. I mean, it would have been off the charts. I mean, they were already thought of those comics as mainstream kiddie nonsense, and that was pre-Disney. So that's just absurd. But that's not really happening because a different thing is happening, which seems to be that people want to get into the big two in order to transform them into what they wanted in the indies. And this is peculiar because, and it's kind of indicative of this tweet, this idea of, I'm sure there's indie stuff like that, but I mean major and popular. And here's the crazy part. Why do you care if it's major or popular? You want to run a game with non-killing. We've never lived in a time period where it was easier to connect with other people. You've got multiple social networks, you've got email, you've got Zoom, you've got chat, you've got all kinds of different ways. It's very easy to connect. The world is small. And if you want to get a campaign going with a bunch of other players to do a non-violent game, there's people everywhere, like everywhere. And you can find them easily. I mean, you could go on Twitter and kind of throw a rock up into the air and people will jump for it. Like, what is the point of major and popular now? I mean, arguably back in the 80s, when it was harder to connect with people, if you liked more of the independent stuff, be it music or movies or games, it was harder to find people who shared those interests. Today, very, very easy. Barely an inconvenience. I'm just going to say it over and over. It's not a problem at all. So why the drive to make it, major and popular? Because what seems to happen is this interesting cycle of, somebody comes into comics, they like indie comics, they don't like the major mainstream comics. So rather than try and build up the indie comics, rather than try and, create amazing work there, they fight to get into the major comics and then transform them from within to basically turn the major comics into what they always wanted as an indie book. But that is, and then of course it's met with natural resistance because lots of people who are following the major popular work liked it the way it was. It was how it got major and popular. But all of this underlies kind of a certain, self-insecurity. Because if you're just comfortable playing what you play or writing what you write or reading what you like to read or whatever else, you're just comfortable liking what you like, then there is zero reason to, inject it into popular mainstream stuff. What's the point? You're getting what you want. And I see this is this kind of, we don't like what we want something more popular. We're going to go into the popular thing. We're going to transform it, kick all the people who previously liked it out, and then complain that people don't like our changes. And that cycle is dumb and exhausting. I mean, bluntly, it sucks because it keeps happening over and over and over. And there's nothing enjoyable about it whatsoever. And it's not creating value. It's not making these things popular. And there's no point to it. The indie world is very viable today. Looking at the comic book numbers, the growth is happening in crowdfunding and the indies far more than the main two, the big two or the big three. It's happening on the indie level. If you have some ability to market and promote yourself and your content, and you're doing something that people want to do, you're doing something worthwhile and enjoyable, the views will come, the money will come. Arguably, you can make a lot more money in the indies than the big two as a content creator because you retain ownership and everything else. You just have to feel confident in that what you're producing is worthwhile, and you're not trying to use the crutch of something more popular to boost yourself. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of this stuff comes. It's, hey, I want to have a nonviolent campaign for D&D. I don't have enough imagination to just, use the rules and run it the way I want to run it. So I'm going to push for D&D, for Dungeons and Dragons, to actually change, to eliminate violence and eliminate hunting for gold to be what I wanted. And then as the product starts to fail, I'm going to complain about toxic fans who are upset with my changes. It's baffling to me. And it strikes at the heart of just stop being insecure. Just if you like something and it's not the mainstream, it's not popular. Believe it or not, once upon a time, that was cool. Again, when I went to high school, when I'm, early 90s, I liked plenty of things with alternative music and other stuff. And frankly, I was very happy. I thought, who wants to go along with the mainstream? The comedy right now of people who say, I'm really punk rock. The nature of punk rock was that you were not mainstream, that you were not popular, that you were you're cutting edge. You're outside of the mainstream. That was the whole point. Today, it's like people want the label of punk rock, but they want to be the most popular cool kids at the same time. It's not what those movies that you've seen from the 80s and 90s were trying to tell you. Anyway, funny little thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I see this going on in comics right now, and it's just bewildering and dumb. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.